So the first step after you have everything all the way cleaned up is to get the countershaft assembled. And this can be one of the more difficult parts of this whole entire process because it uses a whole bunch of little tiny roller bearings, and specifically 4 sets of 20 bearings separated by these little end caps and a main spacer. And so one of the rookie mistakes that people make is that they buy the new kit, and the new kit actually includes all of those plus 1. And it's really important that you count out all of your bearings and all of your spacers and get them laid out so that you can do the assembly. I've already gone ahead and started to assemble all my bearings inside the countershaft. And the way I do it is I take a 3/4 socket and then I set the spacer on it, and then I slip the shaft over top, and I've already gone ahead and put one assembly inside there, but I'll show you guys how to stack the rest of those. So let's get to it. So you have to hold all of these loose bearings together inside the countershaft, and the way I do that is I use a product called Transgel. It's a transmission assembly gel. It's red and it is nasty, and I have had this can probably since the dawn of time. And you just got to take out your 20 bearings, put them in the palm of your hand, and then make sure that you put the correct sequence. So it based on each end of the countershaft is the set of bearings. And so you've got basically the way that it goes from top to bottom is spacer, bearing set, spacer, bearing set, spacer, then the big spacer, and then repeating that the rest of the way. Now, when you're disassembling, you need to keep an eye out for mistakes that people have made. So if you count it, there should be 6 of these little bearing retainers slash spacers. Well, when I disassembled it, there were only 5 of those. So they left out one of those spacers. So just make a note, 6 spacers, 20 rollers per section, 4 sections. So then, after you count out your 20, you know you've got all 20, take some of the Transgel and just completely coat those. And you can see this stuff is really thick. I mean, it's just holding all of those bearings in place. So you take those, you coat it, and then I just basically take about 3 of the rollers, 2 or 3 of the rollers at a time, and you just want to very carefully stack them in there. See, they're all stacked in there. And then I'm going to put that on there, and then this side is done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over. Set your gear cluster in the freezer for about at least an hour, so get that really cold. And what that'll do is that'll take that trans assembly lube and it will make it even more stiff and lock those bearings in there. So we'll let that guy chill and we'll move on to assembling the other part. So now while the countershaft is in the blast chiller, you can go ahead and assemble this shifter plate. These are the shifter detents, and I put a new O-ring on each one of those. I want to make sure that this bore inside here doesn't have any burrs and is really smooth. And then there is the shifter lockout assembly. And the critical piece in this is this little pill right here. And so it goes spring, the pill, and then one of these balls. And a ball goes on one side and then it goes on the other side. Now, I'm just going to use a little bit of the trans gel to see that pill can fall out real easily. So you want to make sure that goes inside the spring. Then pack some trans gel in there so that you don't, it's less likely to come out. So then this whole assembly goes in there. And you want to put a little bit of lubricant on the O-ring. And then choose which side you want to use. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure the ball goes in there. And then just go ahead and push the detent in. Till it stops, and then you can see the ball goes there. Okay, now this side's a little bit more of a pain because you're going to have to actually compress that shifter detent ball in while you slide this down through housing. So get the O-ring started, and hopefully you'll be able to see this happen. Get my big fat fingers out of the way. Just like that, and then it stops. Okay, shifter plate is assembled. Next step is to glue those thrust washers down for the counter shaft. You have to put the counter shaft in before you put anything else in, because you can't get the counter shaft installed otherwise. So I'm going to go get it out of the freezer, and then I'll show you how to slide it into place. Okay, here it is. And if you notice, the big gear goes down. I take some WD-40 and coat that. Then you want to just, it's got a keyway at the top. And what that WD-40 will do is that it'll lubricate as it goes down through. Now, if you get kind of partway in and it stops moving, then you can usually tip it and stick your finger in there and see why it's not slipping through. Keyway. It's notorious for these transmissions to leak right around this, out of this hole. because there's no, it's just kind of a press fit in there. So what I do is I get it pounded in just so that it started, as you can see, and then I get in there and I clean out the grease with the dental pick, spray in some brake cleaner, and then I'll actually put some silicone RTV to seal that up before I pound it all the rest of the way in. So. You just got to make sure that you line up. Line up your keyway with your slot. And you can set it up. The input shaft. I've already knocked this retainer off, its threads on there. I've knocked that retainer off and I put a new bearing on here. Put a little lubricant on the outside of this bearing to make it slide in there easier. Flip it up. Make sure it's meshed in. Snap ring. Now you can put on the front, and you just got to make sure that that drain hole corresponds with that drain hole. Slips down over there. Make sure you index the drain hole, and then I put star washers and thread sealer on the 4 bolts that hold this.